Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another video of Salesforce Makes Sense. This is Himanshu and we are continuing our Lightning Web Components Masterclass. We are going to start debugging for today, but I want to actually show you guys something. Alright, so a lot of us just tend to, look at the tutorials and try to learn from it. That's one way of doing it. But the real learning comes in when you actually try concepts and you actually try to do it yourself, right? I've been always talking about doing it live along with me or actually pausing the video and trying it on your own. And I have some of my subscribers and students and probably really good human beings who are actually taking that ownership, taking that onus of actually solving each and every use case that I show up, right? So I would like to point out and kind of mention and applaud this one particular guy, Samir Sheikh, right? So what he has been doing is he has actually been trying out all the use cases, be it any playlist that is currently looking at. Samir is someone who actually tries to put a lot of effort on all the coding that he needs to do on his own. So I have use case 27. You'll see Samir posting his solution right away, and I try to review it and look at and probably give a comment. And you will keep noticing that Samir is somewhere around here and is actually just posting a lot of comments wherein he tells me that Himanshu, this is how I've done it and this is how it looks, and yeah, I feel confident. So you see Samir here. So this right here is real effort. I don't want to tell you that you're not putting enough efforts, but this is something that will actually help you kind of learn faster. Another guy I would like to mention here is Ravi Grover, who also takes his time and actually ensures that he tries to put a comment of whatever he has executed from his side. See, what does this do? This actually helps you build confidence a lot. This will take you high in confidence exponentially once you start writing code and once you try doing it on your browser. So that is my ask. You see Samir Sheikh showing up here. So kudos to Samir, Ravi. These guys are working really hard, and I'm sure that they are going to do well for sure, because hard work never goes unnoticed, right? So that's just a bit I wanted to talk about. I think that should be enough. So yeah, a small motivation. Try to do things on your own. Don't just look at the video, but actually try to implement it on your side. Things might look very easy when I'm doing it on the screen, but it's not always this scenario, right? Thousands of errors come in when you actually write code, when you are actually working on a real-time scenario. But right now we are kind of doing practice examples. We are doing sample use cases. So it would be very helpful if you kind of try to do it on your own. Okay, so take a look at the tutorial, and wherever you find yourself a bit comfortable and confident, pause the video, try it out, maybe do 2 or 3 versions of it, and then just post it here. And I can probably look at it, or it's okay if you don't post it, but the real idea is for you to actually try it on your own, do it on your own, DIY, do it yourself, right? So that will for sure enhance your confidence in these areas. And a lot of people tell me, Himanshu, I fear coding. I am not confident about coding. I want to revise this particular topic. None of it is required if you are actually, doing this real-time coding practice, right? So you'll make mistakes for sure, but you'll learn 10x if you make mistakes. All right, great. So that is all I wanted to talk about before starting today's tutorial. So for those of you who are looking at this video as the first video, we are following a Lightning Web Component Masterclass, wherein we are currently in somewhere in between, and we are understanding and learning a bit of JavaScript before understanding LWC, because this will help us. All right, great. Today's topic is debugging, and debugging essentially means identifying and fixing problems or kind of bugs in your code. So the word bug is an insect, right? If it comes on your food, or if it comes somewhere near you, you try to remove it. You try to find it and you try to remove it because it's not necessary. It's not good for your food or for your environment. Similarly, when it comes to your coding environment, bugs are not good. Bugs are nothing but problems in your code, right? So debugging is a skill that involves identifying these issues and then fixing it also. All right. So what kind of bugs can be there? A bug can be syntactical, maybe something with your syntax. It can be logical, maybe something with your code algorithm, or it could be a runtime error, something you cannot foresee, maybe something with the system, but kind of you triggered it, right? A very simple example would be, let's say you have a faulty machine at your home, right? A washing machine is faulty. So as soon as you click on the start button, it makes a lot of noise and then stops. It does not really run and do your clothes. So what is that problem? There's a bug in the machine. right? So similarly, your code can have a lot of bugs, right? And you have to find them, fix them, and ensure that once you fix a bug, you don't get it again in sometime in future. You learn from it and you don't get it in the future, right? Now for debugging, an important skill is actually to be able to use the browser console. And that's where you can actually print messages. This is something that I have been doing for a while now, and you have been seeing me. What is that? It's console.log, right? So I've been logging, right? I've been logging information a lot on the browser, and that's how we know, okay, our code is working fine or not, right? So in JavaScript, it's actually a bit difficult to find problems. All right. If you kind of miss a semicolon, if you do something which is case sensitive, or maybe you missed a bracket, JavaScript will not tell you anything about it. It will just give you a very generic error. Okay. So it is you who has to find it out. It's not easy to find it out. And that's where your debugging skills come into picture. And if you are a good debugger, you are a good developer. That comes in inherently. All right. So before we jump into actually looking at it, there's one more analogy I wanted to put here, and feel free to put your analogy. Imagine you are a detective and your code is a story. All right. Now, when something goes wrong with your story, you look for clues or errors, right? You try to figure out the problem and then you fix it to make the story flow properly. All right. So if you're a detective and you have a problem to solve, or you have to, look at a murder case, right? What would you do? You'd actually look for clues and areas where maybe the culprit has made a mistake, and those are the bugs that the culprit has made, based on which you'll be able to find out what the story was and why did this particular event happen. Okay, so you being the detective, you being the person who's finding those issues and the culprit's mistakes is what basically makes you a debugger. Okay, and the skill here that you have to develop is debugging. All right, great. I hope the basic idea is clear. You can even pause code execution. Okay, we'll just talk about it in a while, not necessary for now, but let's see if I can show you a bit. All right, so even if you don't want to do it on the JavaScript online compiler here, which is like, if I just try to show it, first of all, console.log, hi, I just logged myself. All right, and if I say run here, the output will give you the console log execution. However, the real console log is basically sitting here. So when you right click on your browser and you say inspect, that opens up this window down below. All right, there's a lot of stuff here, but just focus on what I'm trying to talk about. All right, this right here is your entire browser console tools that you have, all the dev tools. Now here you see that there's an option called console. The first one is elements, which gives you the entire HTML content of what your screen is like. Okay, not of our use for now, but console is something where you can actually see all that is happening behind the scenes, and if anything is going wrong, going fine, any errors, any issues, and all of that. Okay, I'm going to click on this icon that clears off the entire section, and now here you have this section available for you to use for your logging purpose. Okay, so this console right here, this is where you can actually type console.log, and if I try to say hi, see, it prints hi here. Okay, so this right here is the real browser console where you'll keep on seeing a lot of things. You see, something or the other is happening with this page. So, but this is not our page, so we don't need to be concerned. But the idea is to actually use this space to actually look at all your console logs. Make sense? Okay, when you are actually using LWC, I'll talk about it, but this is where you'll be seeing your console logs. Any kind of logging that you do from your code will be available here. Okay, so let's say now I'll not use the main.js here. I'm going to, oops, sorry, I just clicked a bunch of things. Let's go to console, clear this out. Maybe just go to something general. Yeah, if I try to inspect here, all right, let's go to console. This is a bit more neat. So let a equal to 20. All right, console.log. What is the value of a? Let's see. So I can actually print it out. When I say console.log, it tells me, yeah, the value is 20. Okay, don't worry about this undefined. Okay, don't worry about it. This is just us trying to execute a statement here. So it's just giving this undefined, but it contains the value. See, if I put a, it automatically hovers and shows me 20 is the value. So I'll just say 20. See, I press enter and it gives me the output. All right, but where am I currently? I right clicked on my browser and I said inspect, and then I went to the console tab. That's where you'll be debugging all your issues. Okay, if I say let a equal to a multiplied by 2.5 and then I try to print a, see a is 50 now, but I can actually log it. So when I'm coming from the code, I can actually log it. It's 50. All right. Now, can you do something more? Like, can you do calculations inside the log? Yes, you can. You can do a plus 50. That is giving you 50 plus 50, 100. All right. So I've just given you a very basic starter example of how to use the log, but we'll look at how to effectively use it when we are actually building components in LWC. Okay. So if any kind of issue comes up, any kind of runtime error, any kind of syntactical error, you can actually just see that log available here, right? And here you have this section that's called, that gives you a lot of options of what kind of error do you want to see. Okay, sorry, not this section right here, right? So it tells you, do you want to see the default view, which we are currently watching? Do you want to just see errors? Do you want to see warnings? Do you want to see information? So you can check and uncheck this and filter out your entire console log. You can use this filter box to actually search for something specific. Finding my log. If you try to do that, any console log that's listed here will actually give you the result if the key matches. Let's go back here. You see, if I try to say ERR, you see only the ERR timed out ones are showing up. Why? Because it is filtered. All right. Now, if you notice, there is some color coding available. The red ones, you already know they are all errors. So if I don't want to see any kind of warning or info, I just want to see the errors that have happened, I can switch my view and remove all of these checks. I just want to see errors. See, only the red ones are showing now. So this is how you can navigate in your console. All right. So let's say I have a variable, let name. Okay, but I'm not really, I'm not really giving it a value. Okay, but without giving it a value, I'm trying to check the length of this variable. So I'm going to say name.length. See, it's giving me a console, it's giving me a log that it cannot read properties of undefined. What is undefined? The name field is currently undefined. When it is reading the length property on the name, it is not able to give you that information. So it gives you an uncaught type error. So this is basically an undefined error. So you can see it on the console log. So let's say this is the component that you built and it's giving an error. So you can automatically see here, oh, okay, it is giving me this error right here. Let me check, where did I use the length function in my code? Go there and try to rectify it. And then you will see, oh, okay, I just defined the name, but I did not put any value. Okay, so once I'll have to initialize it with a value or maybe do some checks. Okay, now when I try to do a console.log, it gives me 22, which is correct. The length is 22, which is correct. So the error has now gone, and that's how you fix it, by looking at the console log. So for those of you who already know Apex, or maybe, Apex. So what do? You do a system.debug, right? To look at the debug log on the server side. But if you want to see something on the client side, something on the front end, you can actually use JavaScript console, which is the browser console, using console.log. Makes sense? Just type debugging makes sense if you are able to understand what I'm trying to say, and if you think, you'll be able to start using it very soon. All right, now if I go back to my keynote, let's see. So we did try to log a message in the console. We'll talk about breakpoint when we actually work on the code space. We'll talk about debugger when we actually do the coding, and let's try to debug some scenarios. I showed you the undefined error, right? Let me show you the NaN scenario also. Okay, now what is a NaN scenario? If I say let name equals Himanshu, okay, and now what I try to do is I'll just say console.log name multiplied by 1.5. So I'm trying to multiply a number with a string value. See, the output is NaN. All right, so it's not able to calculate this, and that's why it gives you an output that's called NaN. This is a thing in JavaScript. Okay, but if you try to access something that does not exist, name 1, see, it gives you a reference error. Okay, but in case something exists but does not have a value, and then you try to access it, it gives you undefined. Okay, let me give you an object example. So let's say my personality, right? We discussed about objects. So object is basically you define it by doing a curly brace, right? I'll give it a key. The key would be my, let's say my fave number, right? And this is 327. Okay, that's an object. So if I try to print it out, first of all, on the console, it is giving me this object information. All good. However, if I try to access a property that does not exist in this object, I say my age, and I try to do a console.log, meaning print it out. See, it tells me undefined. So something that does not exist, it is giving me an undefined value. Okay, but what if I made a mistake in the name of the variable? I said double wipe in personality, and I get rid of, okay, let's try. See, reference error, because this variable is not defined. So it does not know what to show you. So it's a reference error. What you are trying to refer to does not exist. All right. And that's an uncaught error. Whenever something cannot be caught, it will give you an uncaught error. So don't worry. I'm just trying to show you different kind of results that can come up when you are actually coding, and how to actually understand them and try to fix them. Okay. Now, if I try to do one more thing, if I try to say console and then say dot, you see, I get a lot of functions available automatically from the browser. Right? Now, interestingly, normally we use the log function the most to actually log anything on the browser, but you have options like error. My bad, I have to put a colon. Yeah. So now if you notice, I've actually logged an error. This looks like an error, right? Now, if I try to do the same thing by logging, what happens if I log it? Just log it. See, the way it prints out on the console is different. Okay. Similarly, I can do a warning by using the warn function, console.warn. And you see now it's not red. It's actually a warning in kind of orange or yellow color. It's more like a warning. You see the symbol, it gives you warning sign. This gives you error sign. And this is a plain log. This one right here. All right. So you have all of these methods available here. You can even use the debug method. You can use the count method. A lot of methods are available. You can clear it out. All right. So we'll actually use this extensively later, and I think I'll talk about it. So sample question, I've actually not done a sample question, but I've shown you that you can actually log, put a warning or put an error or just a plain info, which is the log. You can actually use these functions available, the methods on the console. Log, warn, debug, error. All right. Pretty straightforward, nothing fancy, nothing really tough, but that's about it. All right. Now talking about how is this relevant for LWC. Okay. So debugging is useful in identifying issues with the component behavior. Right now we are just doing 1 + 1 = 2, or maybe we are doing 2 + 2 = 5, and Himanshu is showing a reference error here. All right. A calculation error. I'm removing a semicolon in one line and I'm showing you, oh, uncaught syntax error. What if you have 500 lines of code and then you have to debug that? Would that be challenging? Yes. That's where your skills will come into fruition and they'll be relevant. Okay. And that's where we'll look at how powerful debugging is. Okay. For those of you who have already worked on Apex, you know how to debug SOQL 101, right? You actually have to read the log and try to analyze it and understand which query is running a lot of times and try to then figure out the issue and fix it, right? But Apex is kind of a good friend of ours. Apex will always tell you the mistake you're making. It will tell you exactly line number this particular method attempting to reference a null object. JavaScript, not a good friend in that case. JavaScript is a diplomatic friend. He'll tell you, yeah, something is wrong, but I don't know what. I cannot tell you. I'm afraid of telling you. So you have to figure out what the problem is and where is it, and then fix it. That's why it makes JavaScript debugging a bit more tougher, a bit more difficult. Okay, but still, can it be done? Yes, it can be done. And that's why debugging as a skill becomes super useful when you need to find and fix issues. Okay, maybe your colleague or your friend is stuck in something and you actually try to debug it and fix it. That's a very big relief for that person, right? And that's how you can actually create that confidence in people that yeah, you can actually debug, you can actually find issues in the code using these skills. Okay, another use case is basically whenever you have a third-party integration. Now, whenever I say integration, people will comment, Himanshu, we need videos on integration. But unfortunately, Himanshu just has 2 hands and some time on his calendar every day. So he's using that for LWC tutorials for now. We'll do integration later. But when we do integration with LWC, you are actually fetching some information from third party, and you are showing it on the UI, let's say, or you are manipulating it. It is very important to understand the structure of the response and then kind of try to manipulate it. So every step is important for you to understand how is the data coming, how is it looking like, after I modified it, how does it now look like. All of that can be inspected on the console. Today I'm just doing console.log a, right? This could be a JSON output from your Apex, and it could be input to the LWC that you can debug and check. Oh, okay, this is a 3-level nested object. I have to use this particular logic to extract it. Oh, this is not the right key I was looking at. That's the problem I made on my code. The key is different. So that logging would help you find and fix things. All right. So just check this console. There are a lot of items in this browser console, but essentially the console, maybe the network, the sources, we'll look at it when we do LWC. Don't worry, we'll look at it because we'll make a lot of mistakes and we'll try to learn from these tabs and see what are we doing wrong, where are we going wrong, and this will be very helpful. Okay, for some of you, this section might come on the right side as a parallel section here. I am personally comfortable with this view. But if you are looking at it at the right side and you want it in the bottom, what you can do is you can simply go to the extreme right, click on the 3 dots, and you can switch the view. So for some of you, it will look like this. See, the page is here, the console is here, but the space is very small, right? So you can always have the full screen by switching to this view. It will come down. All right. Great. I think that's all I wanted to cover as part of this tutorial. I'll talk about loops in the next one. But again, kudos to Samir, Ravi, and probably I know there are a few more people, but I wanted to name these folks because they are solving every use case with pretty much good honesty and you know, trying to practice hard and trying to get good results. All right. So kudos to you guys. Loops is the next topic. I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.